Everybody. So I'm going to go over. This is BTC Bitcoin. I'm going to go over support and resistance. I'm going to kind of just do a little teaching example about how to look at support and resistance and why is it important. So this is a pretty basic example, but it can help tremendously whenever it comes to investing into any type of stock or cryptocurrency. Now, over here, this is TradingView. The system I'm using is TradingView, and then the time frame here is I have it set on a month. Now you can do this on a daily, you can do it on a weekly, but we're looking at the bigger picture here. So each one of these candles is going to be a month. Now you want to pull up your stock symbol that you're looking at. Right now we're looking at Bitcoin, so BTC. And we're going to go back to the inception of Bitcoin, or pretty close to the inception. This chart doesn't show 2009, but this is going to give us a good idea of what we're really looking for. So this was the first cycle, all the way to the top here, and then the bottom here. It went from like 1100 back down to $220. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take its level of supports and resistances. So I'm going to draw a horizontal line at, and to draw like a support level, you want to have as many touches as possible. Candle closes are better, but even sometimes the wicks you want to use. But right here, you can see that there's one touch, two touches, three touches. Okay, and even right here, there's two touches right here. Okay, so we're going to draw that in there, and then we're going to go down to here because there's a couple touches here. You've got one, two, three, even four right here. The more touches, the stronger it typically is. Okay, and then now we're going to do one. Let's do right here. So you've got one, two, three. So you can kind of see how it lines up here. Now you ended up bottoming right here, and then let's try to look at what this looks like whenever we look at the next part of the cycle here. So for example, it's kind of telling a story here, right? So you once you broke below this level of support, you found a new bottom down here. Okay, you can draw even another one here. Right, you created a base, you came back down and you retested the base. You retested the base again, you came up and retested, you even pierced through it, but then once you started to take off, you went straight up to this next level of resistance, went all the way up to $500 and sold back under. Okay, then you got bought back up here, retested it, retested it, retested it, retested it, finally broke up. Then you went to the next one here, even the next one there. You retested it, almost came back down to this level. Then once you broke it here, you started to go up quite a bit. Okay, and then you've got one right here as well. Now, if you look at smaller time frames, you could probably read this a little different, but ultimately it looks about the same. Once you clear this new high, then you get into new high territory. So if you don't close above the next resistance, you're going to come back down to this support level. And if you can hold that support, eventually you're going to break and then test the next level of support or the next level of support. So if you're wanting to buy something, right, you would really want to be buying on a retest of support. So like, for example, if this shot up here, you'd want to rebuy down on this level of support. If you get a cheaper buy, then great. If it goes all the way up here, you want to buy hopefully somewhere close to this level of support. A lot of the times it ends up touching it and basically looking at the previous highs here. I would even pull this up a little bit more because of these wicks. They touch, they touch, they touch, and then you've got a little set right here. So once you have more data, you can kind of move the support and resistance a little bit more, and then you would buy pretty close to that range here. Okay, then you'd pass through it. And then you would ride this ride this up, right? Once you end up getting to your next level, right? This was the second bull cycle of Bitcoin. You could do this with the future one as well. You have 2 touches here. You can even use the top of this wick as well. New all-time highs are basically a level of resistance. You would have another one right here. You would have another one right here, because you got to touch here, touch here, touch, 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 a whole bunch of touches right there. So it's a very strong level of support. And then you would have one about right here. Got a bunch of touches there. So let's look at how this happened. Right? You went all the way, you bottomed out here, you went all the way up to this level of support or resistance. And then once you broke through that, you went to the next one, you broke through that, you went to the next one. Okay, then you came back down to retest this. It's kind of failing here, so it broke below, so it comes back down to the next level. Didn't close above this one, didn't close above this one, so it was going to come back down, and actually it came all the way back down to this level of resistance. And then once that happened, you see this huge wick here, this big shadow. That's rocket fuel for the next cycle to the upside. Once you closed above this, you came back down, retested this level of support. You closed on this level of support with resistance without much of a shadow. You broke through that. You broke above. You retested this level of support as well. Broke all the way back up here. Okay, so the next one that we're going to do, you're going to have a level right here. You've got 3 touches. Could probably even bring this up a little bit more on the wicks. Okay, you got another touch there, another touch there. You've got several touches here, the top of this candle. So if we pull this back, you didn't make it through that level of resistance. So you came all the way back down and retested this one, right? And then you closed below this one, and then you're going to come all the way back down to the level of resistance before, right? That's where we ended up. You closed a bunch of candles through that. And this one didn't quite make it down all the way here. If we put it to a weekly, I mean, you could draw even a resistance level, a support level right here on this level. And that's kind of where it ended up coming down. Normally you don't want to use one wick, but sometimes that plays out. It's not very often. Normally it comes down to where it has multiple touches. Okay, but if you closed back above that one, if you missed your buy order here, you would rebuy on a retest of the support level. Okay, and then now you've created a new low level of support here. You've got touch here, touch here, touch here, touch here, touch here. You broke back above. You pretty much retested it here. You broke above here. You retested this one, and then you started holding this level of support. Okay, now you can draw another level of resistance or support here. These 4 touches, right? You broke back above it, you retested it, and then you could draw another one right here. Once you closed below it, you ended up coming all the way back down to this one, then you came back down to this one, and then currently BTC is basically at its next level of resistance here. Okay, are we going to break through it, or are we going to go lower? And that's kind of where I wanted to get to, right? If you break this level, where's the next level of support? There is a little bit of support here between this 46 range as well. So if BTC re-breaks this level, it's most likely you're either going to touch this one or it's going to touch this one. And in the Patreon, I go over what's the most likely scenario. tell the Patreon members what we expect, what we plan to see over the next year or so. But this video is basically just support and resistance and kind of helping you to understand where to buy and where to sell. We can drop it down to a weekly and we can take a look at that. There's a little bit more data here, but the support and resistance lines would change a little bit. But ultimately, if we come down to where I put those monthlies, it's pretty close to a lot of these levels of resistance. And you can still do this with candles as well. Like this one, you might move this up a little bit on a weekly because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's just a bunch of them, right? And then if you look over here, it held that line better than the monthly line that I drew before. So sometimes you want to use a weekly chart and sometimes you want to use a monthly chart. Using a weekly to zoom in to pick the best possible buy is better, but looking at a monthly is just a larger picture of support and resistances. If you use a monthly, I'd probably use like a box. I wouldn't just use a line. So like if I have a buy box, this is what I do for the Patreon members. I wouldn't just put a line there, I would put some kind of a box, right? So I'd say we're going to buy within this box. And that tends to get rid of the errors and not trying to buy at a specific exact dollar amount, because that doesn't normally work out too well. I mean, 3% is not that big of a deal. If you buy 3% higher, probably wouldn't have mattered much if you would have bought 38,000 or 40,000 and it went all the way up to 120,000, right? In this game, you've got to be okay with buying at a little bit higher price. Sometimes there might not be sell orders to where you can buy at that price, so you might have to buy a little bit higher. And that's okay too, as long as you know where the price is going to go. And that's what I do teach in the Patreon. Check it out. It's in the link in my bio. And if you can't find it, just comment and I'll send it to you. All right, everybody. I hope this was helpful. There's quite a few other videos that I have that are pretty helpful. And enjoy.